Yo, what is good, my anime people? What is good, yo? Holy crap, guys. So I am pretty speechless when it comes down to the actions that were chosen to do or that actually pop off in this week's episode has me just dumbfounded, man. Seth not showing up at all was definitely the most annoying part of this week's episode, to say the least. But it's not his fault that a lot of things are already kind of taking place on his side of things, too. It's not like he didn't run into one of the more powerful people on his own and have to kind of put up with whatever is coming from that situation. So I don't really know what Dragunov has planned, including after giving Melly the key to be able to get away from his partner, all the way to firing arrows at Seth, but not really looking to have the intent to kill almost, you know? So there's a lot going on with his character, and I feel like we're not even really like getting a good grasp on what's possible, in my opinion. So to start, we have the queen. I'm gonna start with the queen because what she did was pretty hype and weird enough. The specters, or how the specters were doing what they were doing in the case for the merchants and popping up because of these stones and having his son already on the inside. He was just putting these stones places that, needed to be summoned, and for whatever reason, the guy inside of the castle was aiding, in this, probably thinking he was protecting more than anything. And then on top of that, the queen probably thought of something of it as well. So everybody's getting kind of played, including like with him using the queen's name against others to kind of give them the notification of like, oh yeah, the specters are because of the queen. Like no other reason could be behind that besides her, and trying to make sure people kind of pay for going against her rule and stuff like that. So to truly see what the queen was capable of doing in the case of what she would do for her people, including the ones that have already like died and sacrificed themselves, was crazy. She was the only reason why this fight has any chance of turning in their favor. Charging in, going straight for the Fantasia like device or whatever, kind of just goes to show you what type of leader and person she is as a whole. She has no fear running in there, knowing that sooner or later, when she gets in zone of this device, she won't even be able to use her magic. She won't even be able to use these shields that are protecting her this whole time. So these are the types of stuff that I really like about her charging in and just giving her this moment. And I can see why people were kind of egging her up from the jump when I heard about her. Like, if you saw how uh, if you saw what I saw when the Queen came out, and people were like, "Oh my God, the Queen! Yes, yes, she's here!" Like it was like an uproar of people who just must have been reading the manga and knew about her, or light novel, whatever the case may be. But it's these types of things that make the show much more homey to me, and I say that because people actually are excited for things with it. When you are someone that's watching a show like this and it feels like no one's giving it the true attention that it probably deserves and that it's going to get maybe in the future, and if it doesn't get it in the future, it's a shame. Um, but to know that there's actual people out there that have been championing it before yourself and trying to help the narrative of understanding, like for instance, the girl getting caught by the net this week's episode was super dumb. Super dumb. You're telling me she's in this battlefield and the first person to shoot a cannon at her with a net catches her, no effort like needed. That was dumb. I'm not gonna lie to you. But the rest of the story and how it's all taking place, I mean, it even made sense for her to get captured because now she gets to witness the whole entire like friend situation, and she actually gets to see his motive. She actually gets to see what he's willing to do after being defeated. Like, oh man, this was some pretty messed up stuff. I have a weird feeling that no one is safe unless the guy who took a blade practically to the neck, I'm pretty sure, if he somehow comes back, I have no type of fear of anyone dying. But as we've seen with Seth already, people have died right in front of him. Like, death in this show is not something that they're afraid of going to or using. So I think that's more or less why I think anything is possible when seeing something like this, including when the guy is defeated and the people who we know are on our side are all pretty gullible like this, right? Like, they're all pretty straightforward to the point of, I don't want to kill you, my friend. I want these things to work out. So can they work out? Like, that's the type of people we're dealing with. And for this guy to take advantage of that moment, of that kindness, is exactly what we should all be afraid of for all the characters down the line. So just a little heads up there. I definitely am looking forward to seeing what you guys are talking about, or if you are enjoying yourself some Radiant. Overall, though, I think we're in good hands for the rest of this whole thing because without Seth showing up, it's kind of obvious that he should be a part of this, like, saving grace of all of this, or at least, like, he's going to be so torn apart if he actually hears how the merchants see this, right? Like, if he hears how people who came or did things for their own reasons to have all this popping off, he would be crushed. And I don't know how the girl who barely knows Seth and met him, through this time of us meeting this whole entire area as a whole and then meeting her, is going to settle. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Seth came here, and because he's here, more problems came than what actually would have, because these merchants would not have been able to enlist the strongest miracle users that they did and have them using machines that are, still in test phase. So all of these things, and the young kid who rings the bell and like shatters people, man. Oh my god, this show has so many little pieces. Like, there's a chessboard, and the show is just slowly pushing all the pieces to the center. They're not even really playing chess, they're just stacking the board. And as soon as everybody finally meets up that need, like Grim and Seth and all, everybody that's on Seth's side, and then everybody on the miracle side, I call them, this is all going to come to a head sooner or later. And that's what I love about what we're getting throughout the show, is when it comes to a head, who is going to be in the right, who's actually going to be strong enough. And imagine Seth seeing all of these people losing their lives and whatnot, and he was already supposed to have started helping them. I think regardless of how we look at it, Seth's going to be hurt. And that's why I love his characters, because he's like an open book. It's so easy to read him that any situations like this that are popping off, I know what he's going to feel. I know how he's probably going to act as well if all of the training in the forest goes right out the window after him losing his mind of what he's experiencing on the battlefield, man. So look forward to seeing some greatness with this show, because I definitely see Seth popping off. I think the next episode title was The Black Dragon Ascends or something. So it's about to pop off, and I don't think anybody can really stop Seth if he goes full anger mode. And even the miracle people had like a hard time dealing with them the first time, so I can only imagine how bad it would be if he has, the new power, the newfound power he has now, and then on top of that, tapping into the potential he doesn't want to be using. So, all that being said, I still need to watch Seven Deadly Sins. So if you are watching this, you know that much, and it probably won't be out until later. So I apologize for that. But as a whole, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, evening, whatever the case may be. I am your boy, the Anime G, and I will talk to you in the next one. So peace.